Previously on My Hero Academia.
I have been expecting you.
Are you with the League? Somebody get us a light!
It is pointless to resist.
Stop there! Don't move!
Impressive.
We can't let these villains try anything!
Most impressive. I have you now. Now, you know the power of the dark side.
What's going on, everybody? Sean Ross here, and welcome back to the channel, guys. Things are about to go down and get crazy these next couple of episodes. My hype level right now is going through the roof. None of us are prepared or ready for what is to come. Episode 10, Season 3 of My Hero Academia, and All for One has entered the game. The main bad guy, the main villain of this series, who is heavily inspired by Darth Vader, showed us the power of the dark side at the ending of last week's episode. That post-credit sequence, just that scene alone made that episode for me. The ambiance, the presence, the fear, and the music that was playing during that entire sequence, that operatic music, was amazing and fit so well for the character of All for One. But I just love getting to see our students frozen in fear, thinking about their demise and their death in the presence of this man, and he is just floating in the air after decimating city blocks worth of Camino Ward. And he's like, all right, let's do this. Shall we begin? These next couple of episodes, guys, are going to be amazing, but I am hyped. I am hyped to dive into this week's episode, into next week's episode. This is going to be great. But it wasn't just all, doom and gloom by the ending of last week's episode, because our heroes did a pretty damn good job of going into the bar and suppressing our League of Villains. It just so happens that All for One had this all planned out. He snatched Bakugo yet again and released Nomus at the bar, keeping our pro heroes occupied there, while Best Jeanist, Mount Lady, Tiger, and Gang Orca got blown away at the Nomu factory. So that right there, guys, I feel was a pretty good recap of what transpired in last week's episode. But before we dive into episode 10, guys, check the links down in the description below to Crunchyroll, Funimation, and to Verve to check out the official release and to support the series. But with all that being said, guys, let the hype commence. Let's dive into episode 10, season 3 of My Hero Academia, entitled Symbol of Peace. Let's jump into it, guys. It's so weird hearing that line coming from All for One. Teleporting the villains out of there too. Ooh, so close. That is awesome. Headshot's quirk is amazing. Oh yeah. Just flung him. Uh-oh, he's coughing. Symbol of Peace. Let's go. Mount Lady, Orca, Tiger, and Ragdoll, and Best Jeanist. And he's just clapping while doing this too. All for One, damn. Yeah, don't sleep on Best Jeanist. He saved everyone within that. They're playing the music again.
だからなんだ一流は
Ooh. Damn. I didn't think he got hit that hard. In all honesty. Damn. Oh, I love what they're doing with All For One. There's Bakugo. He's in the presence of the man, the myth, and the legend. And the league wasn't far behind. Oh my god.
また失敗したね、トムラ。でも決してめげてはいけないよ。またやり直せばいい。いくらでもやり直せ。そのために僕がいるんだよ。すべては君のためにある。
He's molding him.
ここで動かなきゃ何も。
Yeah, Ida's not gonna let him go. Neither is Momo. Mm-hmm. Here we go! Yes! Oh, finally! Yes! I loved how he came in from the moonlight. That shot looks amazing. Amazing. This organ music. He's judging All Might's strength. He knows he's getting weaker. Look at that. God, seeing this animated is amazing. He's combining quirks. That is beyond hacks. Look at that. That's an awesome shot. He's activating Kurogiri's quirk. The amount of quirks this man has. Two gods duking it out. And that's his bro right there. Even Bakugo realizes that. Even Deku realizes that Bakugo knows. There we go. Yes. Our two speedsters, basically. Oh, this looks awesome.
今僕らがそれを
Just
できる
gliding up the ice.
そして手の届かない高さから戦場を横断する友達の呼びかけなら来い
Yeah, come on, Bakugo. Oh, yeah. That looks awesome. Yo, that was awesome.
くっついてバグネ個性磁力
Yeah, we learned magnetism. Yep.
5メートル以内の人物に磁力を付加男が S 極女が N 極となる
Mhm.
自身には付加できないぞ行くわよ
And then propel them. Yeah, Mount Lady.
マウントレディ
Very nice, Mount Lady.
まだ間に合う
Good thinking. And then Gran Torino. Oh yeah. Took him a little bit longer, but he's here.
遅いですよ。お前が早すぎた。なあ、あいつ緑が。ほんとますますお前に似てきとる。
Yes.
悪い方向に。やられたな。一手で綺麗に形勢逆転だ。強制発動。
Oh, he's activating Magna's quirk. And getting pulled. They're all getting pulled to Toga. Then we get pushed through.
待てダメだ先生俺まだ
トムラ、君は戦い続けろ。
Getting rid of everyone so that way the gods can duke it out.
プラス衝撃反転。
Oh shit. Just punched Gran Torino.
すみません。僕はただトムラを助けに来ただけだが、戦うというのなら受けて立つよ。デトロイト
The power. Just ripping his costume apart.
心置きなく戦わせないよ。ヒーローは多いよな。守るもの。
Yep, all the civilians that got caught up.
黙れ。貴様はそうやって人をもてあそぶ。壊し、奪い、付け入り支配する。私はそれが。
Yo, All Might.
天層。
Ooh, punched him right in the face.
しのり。
His limits.
活動。
He reached his limit. Half his face.
どうした。嫌に感情的じゃないか、オールマイト。同じようなセリフを前にも聞いたな。
Still talking smack.
ワン・フォー・オール、仙台継承
He's
者。
poking the nerve.
志村七から。
Nana Shimura, the previous one for all holder, and it's over. Oh man, next week, prepare yourselves. Anime onlys, you're not ready. Manga readers, we're still not ready. Next week is going to be amazing. This fight between All Might and All for One was set up so damn well within this latest episode. Just that ending sequence alone of seeing All Might just so pissed and angry as he grabbed onto All for One's arm, punched through the Darth Vader mask, and pummeled him into the ground. All Might has reached his limits, and we just see All for One laughing as he is mocking All Might and taunting him by saying, I heard those exact lines coming from the previous One for All holder, Nana Shimura. Next week's episode is going to be epic, guys, because we have so much good stuff coming. With this episode, I was actually unsure on where this episode was going to end manga-wise. I figured it was either going to be Kirishima and Bakugo locking hands or ending with All for One getting punched in the face and mentioning the One for All holder. I'm glad it was the latter because we are going to get so much good stuff in episode 11. And I even remember seeing on Twitter the English dub voice director Colleen Clinkenbeard tweeting out a picture of her watching episode 49, which will be episode 11 next week, and she was crying and very emotional. get prepared, guys, because this upcoming episode, which will be entitled One for All, is going to be one of the best episodes, I believe, within the series for My Hero Academia. But let's not worry about the upcoming episode right now because we have all week to get hyped and anxious for episode 11. Let's talk a little bit more about episode 10, and let's dive a little bit more into talking about All Might and All for One, because from watching this episode, the start of these two's fight, you can plainly see that these guys are on an entirely different level than any other superpowered person within this series. And the only other person that would be able to come close to this destructive power is Deku, but he still has a long way to go to gain more control of One for All until he's even at this level with All Might and All for One. But the strange thing to think about is that during this operation, we have 5 of the top 10 pro heroes a part of this. We have All Might number 1, Endeavor number 2, Best Genius number 4, Headshot number 5, and Gang Orca number 10. But the only person that would be able to hold a candle with All for One is All Might. And even All Might is having a tough time dealing with All for One, as we are seeing All Might being flown through buildings left and right. And I particularly love that aerial shot of seeing the area of destruction and seeing the path of where All Might was flown, going city blocks back through buildings. That right there is an epic shot. But one of my favorite shots and sequences from this episode was when All for One realized that All Might was on his way, and then we just see from the silhouette of the moon, All Might incoming, and he clashes fists with All for One. They freeze frame on that shot with blood spatter. It's an epic shot, and you get to see the anger within All Might's face. There's a lot of emotion put into that one screen cap, and I love getting to see that because we really haven't seen All Might pissed in this series. We've seen him a little bit angry going back to USJ when the League of Villains attacked his students, but that doesn't even come close to the amount of hatred that All Might has built up inside him for the ultimate evil that is All for One. But not only can All for One match All Might strength-wise by combining his many quirks into one powerful strike, but All for One is one of the few to only characters within this series that can legitimately get under All Might's skin and rattle the symbol of peace down to his core. Not many villains within this series can say that they can do that to the symbol of peace, but that just comes with the amount of history and depth between All for One and every single predecessor that has inherited One for All, because we know there is history built in between All for One and the previous holder of All Might, Nana Shimura, but there is specifically a lot of history built in with the symbol of peace and All for One, because All Might is the person responsible for crumbling the evil empire that All for One has built up, and he also took away All for One's dashing good looks by removing all the features from his face besides his mouth. So I absolutely love the dynamic that we get to see between All Might and All for One. This is really just scratching the surface, and we will get to see more of that in next week's episode. But another feature that I love that they included within this episode that is kind of very subtle is that they are mirroring the mentorship of All Might and Deku with All for One and Shigaraki within this episode, but they have done that throughout the course of this series, but you can see that clearly within this episode, just the way that All for One is tending to Shigaraki, kind of building him up, being that mentor to raise this child as the next symbol of evil, much like All Might is raising Deku to be the next symbol of peace. I love that dynamic, that not only do we get to see that on the good side, but we also get to see that on the villain side as well. But before I move on to talk about everything else that transpired within this episode, I want to bring up something I mentioned in my episode 9 review, because in last week's episode and then again in this week's episode, we have 2 names being mentioned that do have correlation. In episode 9 and episode 10, we have the name drop of Tomura Shigaraki's real name, Tenko Shimura. And then by the ending of this episode, we have All for One mention the name of All Might's predecessor, the previous One for All holder before him, Nana Shimura. Tenko Shimura, Nana Shimura. There is a relationship with those names, considering they actually have the same last name, and that has been teased right now within these last 2 episodes, and that is a relationship we will definitely learn more about as these episodes unfold. But I just want to keep that within your minds right now, because we had the name Shimura name drop before, back when Gran Torino first mentioned All for One's name, but now we actually have the name drop of her full name, Nana Shimura. So we will learn about that relationship between Shigaraki and Nana Shimura very, very soon. So now with those talking points done and out of the way with, I want to go back to the beginning of this episode where we have all of this chaos ensuing at the bar with all of these Nomus teleporting in, and then also talk about what happened to all of our pro heroes after All For One blew them all away and destroyed a big section of Camino Ward in the process. So at the bar, we have all these Nomus teleporting in, and we have Bakugo get teleported right out as this black goo consumes him, and he heads over to All For One. But then we see the same thing happening to Shigaraki and all the other League of Villains, where this black goo comes out of their mouth, they get sucked away over to All For One's location. And All Might is trying to do everything he can to get out of this situation, to pursue Shigaraki and Bakugo to hopefully find All For One, but he has all these Nomus attached to his body. And then he just debuts the Oklahoma Smash and just tosses these Nomus up, down, left, and right. They go in all directions out of this building. It is a great scene to see with All Might, but I really like this small scene that happens between All Might and Endeavor, because All Might yells down to Endeavor, hey, are you all right? Can you handle this situation right here? And Endeavor's like, come on, I got this situation. What, are your eyes going bad? Don't worry, I got this. If you need to leave, go ahead and leave. It's a very small section, but I like getting to see this because here we have the number 1 and number 2 hero, where there's a lot of hatred and animosity on Endeavor's end. They don't have a good relationship, but when it comes down to it, when they need to do the job of being a hero, they can put that pettiness aside and they can do their job accordingly. So I really do like this very small moment between our number 1 and number 2 hero doing their jobs right. So as All Might is leaping through the city over towards All For One, we get to find out what actually happened to Best Jeanist, Mount Lady, Ragdoll, Tiger, and Gang Orca, because in that split second before that explosion blew up a huge sector of Camino Ward and killing a lot of civilians in the process, we find out our pro heroes did not die during that explosion, thanks to the quick thinking of Best Jeanist, because he activated his quirk, used his fibers to grab a hold of everyone, and then got them out of the kill zone to where the explosion just launched them back. They have minor to major injuries and fell unconscious. But even though Best Jeanist took the brunt of that explosion, he is still pushing forward to fight back against All For One. He's not the number 4 pro hero for nothing. Do not sleep on Best Jeanist, but this section actually surprised me, and I was not expecting it to be as gruesome as it actually was depicted within this section, because we see Best Jeanist activating his quirk, his fibers begin to move, they're pushing back against the ground to lift up his head, and then we just see this air shot come from All For One, and it just bursts through Best Jeanist's stomach. I knew that attack was coming, but the way that it was depicted within this section within the anime was a lot more gruesome than what actually transpired in the manga. So that right there definitely surprised me, but as we can see, things are not looking good right now for Best Jeanist. He is in critical condition, and we will find out whether he lives or dies after this arc is over. But once All For One deals with Best Jeanist, we see Bakugo and the League of Villains begin to teleport in, and this is where we have that little moment between All For One and Shigaraki, but this is what leads into Deku and our rescue squad jumping in to go get Bakugo. So we see Bakugo begin to dodge all of the League of Villains attempts as they try to grab him so they can get out of this situation. And I really do like this scene, getting to see Bakugo using his explosions and being very acrobatic as he is dodging every single attempt from the League of Villains. But while this is happening, All Might has arrived on scene and is currently fighting back against All For One, but Bakugo, analyzing the situation, has realized that All Might cannot go all out in his fight against All For One by also worrying about Bakugo's safety at the same time. So Bakugo needs to get away from this situation as quickly as possible so All Might can use his full power against All For One. But it's a good thing we have our rescuees waiting on standby with Deku, Todoroki, Ida, Kirishima, and Momo to come in clutch to rescue Bakugo and take him out of this situation. So Deku ends up coming up with this plan to where himself and Ida are going to act as the engines as they propel Kirishima with his hardening through a wall, up an ice ramp that Todoroki ends up creating to where they can launch themselves high enough to where Bakugo can use an explosion to fly towards them and they can escape from this situation. Momo doesn't really contribute all too much to this rescue plan, but the essential piece of this working goes to Kirishima, because if it was anyone else throwing out their arm telling Bakugo to grab on, if it was Ida, if it was Midoriya, if it was Todoroki or Momo, this plan might not have worked. But because Kirishima and Bakugo are best bros. They have that mutual respect from one another where they kind of view themselves as equal. They are best friends. That is the only reason why this plan is able to work. So once Bakugo sees them in the air and Kirishima throws out his hand saying, "Come on," we have this awesome sequence. I loved how this was animated when Bakugo uses that huge explosion to launch himself very fast. The velocity he had on him was amazing to see during that section, and he keeps on propelling himself until he grabs onto Kirishima and is like, "You guys stupid" or something. I loved getting to see that sequence. It was honestly amazing. But before our rescue operation can get out of this situation with Bakugo, we have our villains of Spinner and Magna launch Mr. Compress up into the air after them, thanks to Magna's quirk of magnetism. It almost seems as if Mr. Compress is about to catch up to Bakugo, Kirishima, Ida, and Deku, but then we have Mount Lady come out of nowhere. She enlarges herself, and we just see Mr. Compress smack into the face of Mount Lady. She ends up saving Bakugo and the rescue operation, telling them to prioritize the rescue operation. Get out of here, you stupid kids. Mount Lady came up clutch in that situation. And now that Bakugo is out of this situation, All Might can fight at full power against All For One. But once All For One begins to realize this situation, he just begins to activate an unconscious Magnus Quirk who got knocked out by Gran Torino and just sends the entire League of Villains with Shigaraki out of this situation as well. That way he can proceed to fight All Might at full power. And this is kind of a touching scene in a way on the villain side, because here we see Shigaraki realizing what is about to happen as he's about to go through Kurogiri's warp gate, and he's like, "No, I don't want to go without you. I am not ready yet." And this kind of goes into the good mentorship and evil mentorship that we have been seeing between All Might and Deku and All For One and Shigaraki. But All For One's like, "No, you need to go, continue the work, do what you need to do." And now all we have left is All For One about to fight All Might. This right here is the hype. Get ready, guys, for next week's episode. It's going to be amazing. So then we end up going into the ending section of this episode, where All For One getting his face smashed in, the Darth Vader helmet ends up breaking, and then we just see that All Might has reached his limits, and the fight right now between these two, All Might and All For One, is far from over. So with that, guys, that is my live reaction and review to episode 10, season 3 for My Hero Academia. And now I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on this latest episode. What were your positives? What were your negatives? And what was your favorite standout moment from this episode? And how hyped are you for episode 11, episode 49 next week? Let me know down in the comments below, guys. And if you guys want to talk more about My Hero Academia outside of YouTube, feel free to follow me on Twitter, though I will warn the anime onlys, I do talk about the manga for My Hero Academia on my Twitter. But if you don't care and just want to talk more about this wonderful series, a link to my Twitter account can be found in the description down below. But that's going to do it for me here, guys. So until next week, when we have episode 11 of season 3 for My Hero Academia, I'll talk to you guys next time. But remember, go beyond plus ultra.